UFC Emmett versus Murphy is happening in 2 days' time. I'm going to give my predictions of the entire card, starting from the main event down to the prelim opener. So we'll get straight in the main event, which is Murphy versus Emmett. And I pretty much see this fight as can Josh Emmett catch Leroy Murphy? He definitely can, but I'm looking at his entire career on Tapology. I've watched his fights too. Like, I know how he fights. I know how Leroy Murphy fights. And I'm looking at Josh Emmett's career. And I'm seeing before the Bryce Mitchell fight, he hadn't KO'd someone since like 2019. You know what I mean? He's dropped people in that time. That's not getting cut out. He's dropped people in that time, but he hasn't like fully knocked people out. And Leroy Murphy showed great, like, what do you call it, recovery against opponents. You know what I mean? And it's like Josh Emmett hits hard. That's his chance of winning, is hitting him with a big fucking hook and then just killing him. And I don't think he does that. I think Leroy Murphy's going to be on the outside, faking, using his kicks. Where does he train at? That Manchester's top team. They are like the city kickboxing of the UK. They're always talking about fakes and all that type of stuff. And you see it in all of their fight styles, like the ones that are actually in the pro scene or the amateur scene. You always see them. They're always using fakes. So I'm going to go with Leroy Murphy via decision, obviously decision. He hasn't got a finish on his record. I think he's got one. But yeah, I think the first 2 rounds, he might be in some trouble. And it's pretty much, this fight is, will Josh Emmett catch Leroy Murphy? And I think he will, but I reckon Leroy Murphy can awaken, if you get me. And it's like, you know, it's like, if you can really get to the top of featherweight division, one of the best divisions in the sport, by just having power, then we know this sport isn't that good. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go with Leroy Murphy via... I'm tempted to go with like a 49-46 decision, but I'm probably going to go with a 48-47 decision. Yeah. Yeah, we'll move on to the next fight, which is Pat Sabatini versus Joanison Brito. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to try something new. Because for this fight, I've specifically not looked at any of the fights. I can just about remember Pat Sabatini getting killed by Diego Lopez. And from the Pat Sabatini fight and the Joan Brito fight, I can show you just by looking at their records. I have watched the other people's fights on this card, so yeah. But I'm just doing a little experiment on this fight. And it's like a win over Diego Lopez and Maniscal on the regional scene. And it's like, they're really good fucking wins. But then he's lost to like some shit people in the UFC. And it's like, you know what I mean? And Pat Sabatini, it's Pat Sabatini, you know what I mean? But I'm going to go with Brito. And I'm going to go with Brito. Do I want to go sub? For some reason, it's telling me to say sub. And I don't know why. I think it's because Diego Lopez subbed him. But I'm going to go with a decision for Brito. I think this is very clear that Brito's going to win this. Brito is kind of, like, he actually is kind of good, you know. But we'll move on to the next fight, which is a very fucking coin flip of a fight. Cortavius Romeus. That was a handful to get out, and Chang Ho Lee. My main takeaway from this fight is that one's 5'4", one's 5'8", but nah. Chang Ho Lee looks very strong. So does Romeus. You must be, if you're 5'4", not fighting in the flyweight division. They're both gas out because they're so like big with muscle and that. They both have good jiu-jitsu. I do think Romeus does hit a bit harder. Like, these short black dudes, yeah, they always hit hard as fuck. And I think that's mainly the main difference here. And especially since Chang Ho Lee retardedly runs into the clinch with his head wide open, almost like he's trying to headbutt his opponent. I was going to go with Romeus. Who's the underdog? I don't know if I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm going to go with the favourite, Chang Ho Lee. He's got clinch, good dirty boxing, retardedly runs in. He does gas out a lot though. They both gas out. It's probably not going to be that good of a fight. I watched his Road to the UFC fight. It was very boring. There was like some fun scrambles now and then, but most of it was just in the clinch, and it was just. It was very meh. I wouldn't say boring. It was just very mid. But I'll go with Chang Ho Lee, just being 5'8" and looking strong, and Romeus just is 5'. I think he should go down to flyweight. To be honest, he looks too small. But we'll go on to the next fight, which is Brad Tavares and Gerald Meerschaert. Right. Brad Tavares has probably some of the best takedown defense in the middleweight division. You know, he had some great takedown defense and like reversals against Gregory Rodriguez, who just recently lost to Jared Cannonier. So I don't think Gerald Meerschaert's going to take Brad Tavares down. I don't think that's happening. So it's pretty much who's going to be winning on the feet. And I think Brad Tavares. I think Brad Tavares is just a way better striker. Not much better, but it's going to be very basic striking. And I think in that realm, Tavares is the tiniest bit better. Tiniest bit. But then we're going to move on to a flyweight bout, which is Ozzy Osbourne versus Louise Garul. I really don't want to fuck that name up. Well, we can see that Garul is undefeated. And Ozzy Osbourne is really good some nights and really shit the other night. So it's 50-50 with him. This Louise Garul, he did fight on the Dana White's Contender Series. He looked pretty good, but he did get dominated for the first 90 seconds of the bout. Yeah, but against this, I don't know what he was trying to do. To me, it just looked like he was trying to be some dodgy American Hamzat Chimaev knockoff. And then he just let him get off. And then Louise got out and then just started boxing him. And then he got taken down at one point, got his back taken, and then did some little slick back take to get out of it. And then, as well as that, Ozzy's got fast boxing, showing the Gregory Rodriguez fight. And it's the fast boxing. And as well, Louise is very open and shot, so it is kind of meh. But I just think Louise has got a lot more power on him. And it's Ozzy Osbourne, you've lost to practically every good fighter you've fought. I think he has a win over Charles, Charles Johnson, and I'm how have you done that? How have you managed to win against him? I rate him kind of highly. But anyway, we'll move on to the next guy, which is Torres Finney versus Robert Vallon. I think Torres is one of the weirdest looking fighters on the fucking roster. You should see how big this guy is. He's how tall is he? Is he 5'6" and built 5'8", and he's built like that. He's like a little ball of muscle. Now I'm choosing this fight basically mostly off of physicality, purely off of Robert Vallon is able to scramble really well. But the main issue is when someone's got a low centre of gravity, like a Volkanovski, or in this case, at middleweight, Finley Cortez, I don't really think you can scramble with Finley Cortez. He's just too big. I can only imagine him being in fucking some bad position with him. You ain't moving from that guy, you know what I mean? And yeah, he's got a powerful double leg too. I don't think anyone's defending that thing. Um, he's 3-0 in the Contender Series, which is really saying something. Really saying something. I think he's got one decision on his entire record, and I think Robert Vallon got ground and pounded in his last fight. I'm pretty sure he did. And it's not telling me good things. It's not telling me good things at all. So I'm gonna go with Finney. And I think he's gonna ground and pound him as well. I think first round ground and pound. All of his finishes are in the first 2 rounds. I think when he gets to like higher level comp, he might gas out. Well, it's almost certain he's gonna gas out. Look at him. But so far, I think Torres is gonna do well. When he starts versing like just outside the rankings, that's when he's gonna start struggling, making decisions and that. But yeah, I'm going to go with Finley because it's Finley. And Dana White was absolutely fucking ripping him on the Contender Series. I don't know how we got a third chance on the Contender Series, but oh well. But yeah, now we'll move on to the prelims, I guess we're going to call this. Oh, Davy Grant versus Daniel Santos. This is going to be a great fight, I think. I'm done doubting Davy Grant. I was thought before he took his layoff, came back, and I was like, he's not gonna perform the best. He's like 38. How old is he 38? Oh, it doesn't say his age on here. I think he's like 38, 39. But he's essentially an old man. But this old man can fight, and he's very fucking good at it. He's got a chin. Like, people forget this guy has a win against Chito Vera ages ago. Ages ago. Before he started the losing streak. Before all this shit. I think this was when they still had, like, the Reebok shorts. You know what I mean? He's fast. The only issue I have is that Davy Grant gets caught coming in, but his chin is so good at, like, fucking 38 that it doesn't really matter. And it's like, Santos can beat him. It's a very close fight. But it's like, nah, I need the fellow Englishman to win, you know what I'm saying? So we'll move on to the next fight, which is... Yeah, I'm not predicting that, hang on. I'm just going to go straight off of records. Because this is UFC, the highest level of MMA, and we are signing 15-9, Diana, whoever the fuck that second name is. And then we've got 7-3, Diane. I'll go with Diane. I've not watched either of these two fight. Moving on. Rhys McKee versus Daniel Freneza. He's very fucking good, this Freneza. He dominated some guy on the Dana White's Contender Series. And he's got like non-stop finishes. I looked at his record. Finish. I'm like, alright. And I've seen Rhys McKee get finished by lesser people. I've seen him get out grappled by better people. I've seen the whole lot. So I'm going to be going with Freneza. I think this is an obvious pick, to be honest. But there again, I'll say that, and then Rhys McKee will win. But yeah, we'll move on to the next fight, which is... Oh my god, they're just full of shit up with anything, haven't they? Let's look at the records. We got 6-5 and one no contest. Estela Nunes. And then we've got Luana, fucking hell, who's 9-3. Are they taking the piss? Well, I'll go with the 9-3. I'll go with this one in the blue. Moving on. Victor Henry versus Pedro Flacchio. Yeah, I said that name wrong. I know I have. I just act like it never. When I watched these two fight, I noticed two differences. The volume and pressure. Well, not really pressure, but he goes forward. I wouldn't say pressure. I'd say he just goes forwards. The volume of Victor Henry is going to win him this fight. Because he kicks, got good sprawls. Unless Pedro, fucking whatever his name is, comes into the clinch. He's very similar, this Pedro guy, to... Where is he? Chang Ho Lee. Very similar. But I'm going to be going... Who am I going with? I've got my notes here, and I haven't actually circled who I'm choosing for this. Yeah, I'm going with Henry. I'm going with Henry just purely off of just him looking good in his last fight, and then in Pedro's last fight, it was just a lot of clinch work and just dirty boxing. Very similar fighter to that Chang Ho Lee, and it's like the difference is Chang Ho Lee is, I think he's undefeated, and this guy isn't. But yeah, we'll move on to the next fight, which is Martin Buday versus Uran Saltyboyev. I believe this guy was supposed to fight that guy who fought a Turkish guy and quit on the Contender Series, but he pulled out, so he didn't really get it. I don't know much about this guy because I can't find any of his fights anywhere, so I can't really choose. All I know is he's 9-0 and he's got 7 finishes on his record. That's all I know. But there again, he fights in LFA, so that's another thing. But I don't know, I'll go with Martin Buday. He should win this. He had a full training camp against fucking, what's his name? I've forgotten his name. Nishikwu. I don't know. I think that's how you say it. And he seems to be very good up and coming in the heavyweight division. He moved up from light heavyweight, and he seems very good. So this Martin Buday, who's number 15 ranked in the division apparently, even though he's not on the fucking record thing when I have a look on those rankings, realistically, he should beat this scrub off the regional scene. Realistically. Will he? I don't know because I've never seen this guy fight. So I'll go with the guy who I've seen fight in UFC, and he looked. I ain't gonna say how he looked, but yeah, yeah. I would love to find this Saltyboyev fight, but it just doesn't exist. I've looked everywhere for him, and all I could find is an amateur fight. They had like massive gloves on, and I was like, well, I ain't watching that. And then we're gonna go on Vanessa Demopoulos and fucking. Hang on. Is there any like stats for this guy? There's no stats either, so like I don't even know how tall he is, how like much he weighs. Obviously we know it's a heavyweight bout, but you know, there's light heavyweights and then there's like heavyweights. Doesn't even say his reach or anything. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Buday. But anyway, let's get on this one. They really seem to like Vanessa Demopoulos, even though she's 11-6 in UFC. She's 11-6, man. Get her out the sport. But they very much seem to like her, and every time there's a close decision, which is mostly every woman's fight at this point, they just give it to the one they like most. So I guess I'll give Vanessa Demopoulos this one, even though, nah, this will probably, and I haven't seen any of these fight. I don't watch women's fight, you know what I mean? When the women's fight come on, I go downstairs and cook some scran, you know what I'm saying? But Vanessa Demopoulos just gets given decisions even though she loses. So, you know, I've not seen this Alan Carr, let's call it Alan Carr fight, you know. So I'm purely just going off of the bias here. But yeah, they're my picks. Vanessa Demopoulos, Martin Buday. I'm very tempted to go with this guy purely off of his name. But then I could realise that he's just shit or something, I don't know. He's 9-0, 7 finishes. But yeah, Martin Buday I'm going to go with, because I've actually seen him fight Victor Henry, Loma, Daniel Fineza, I'll go with Diane, Davy Grant, Finney, Louise, Brad Tavares, Chang Ho Lee, but this is a coin flip. I reckon it could go either way. Fucking hell. Joannison Brito and Leroy Murphy. But this again, that's a coin flip as well. But yeah, that's a video. Comment your predictions, like the video, help us out a lot. Yeah.